The hype machine for Stranger Things is really starting to turn its gears. As always, with new content comes new speculation, and viewers from all over the web are staking their claim on theories. There is a lot to take from this new trailer. Theorists seem to focus on the new mall and its significance to the story. However, others ended up paying more attention to the worrying flashbacks happening to Eleven. The best part of this trailer is that it gave everyone so much to unpack. Well, Behind the Screen found its own interesting scene to look at. The moment with Will Byers looking at old photos of his friends was out of place in the entire video. He is wet and sad, and no other spot in the trailer is remotely connected to it. So, with all the attention focused on that moment, it's time to get into the theory it spawned. Actually, let's not jump into everything too quickly. Every great theory needs the yarn-covered note cards around it. We need to connect the dots first before we jump into the idea of Will's arc this season turning heads. We need some proof of concept before we start letting our evil Will flag fly. To start, flashback to season 1 of the show. The kids are alright, and monsters are just pieces on their D&D map. Everything changes the night young Byers is chased down by a demigorgon. For those unfamiliar with what that is, it's the main villain from the first season. It's big and scary. Plus, it nearly wiped out all of the cast as they attempted to rescue Will from the Upside Down. You know the Upside Down. It's that alternate dimension that spawned the Demogorgon in the first place. Throughout the first season, the rest of the cast attempts to find Will. Meanwhile, he is isolated from his friends and he is just doing his best to stay hidden from the creatures hunting him down. Mike, Dustin, and Lucas spend that time trying to find out where he's hiding. The conflict ends up sharing time with another story developing right on top of it. That's right, many forget that Eleven's story seems to run concurrent with the rescue attempts and actually ends up becoming a distraction from the boys' main mission. Fast forward to season 2 and we see a whole new side of Eleven and Will. The two seem to be connected in some ways. They both are rejected by the normal people around Hawkins. For Elle, it leads her on a mission to discover more about her past, but for Will, it becomes this terrible ordeal that ends up with him being possessed by the Mind Flayer. The point is, the two don't cross paths all that much, despite this connection. Their stories seem to be working in opposite directions. Elle is discovering friends and finding normalcy in her complicated life. In contrast, Will Byers is growing more disconnected due to the evils working against him, and his life is becoming less and less normal quicker than his friends' lives. On top of all that, Mike, Will's best friend, is growing closer to Eleven, which signals a possible distancing from Will is in the works. That's the recap, but there's an element in the setup that is worth exploring some more. We will get to that theory soon, but first, we need to talk about Eleven's powers. There is a lot that viewers don't know about how she uses them. It seems like they kind of work like going Super Saiyan in Dragon Ball Z. What that means is the powers get stronger every time Eleven is defeated or hurt. On top of that, her abilities are usually linked to her emotional state. When she is protecting someone or angry, the power level of her psychic abilities is amplified. Okay, now keep that in mind because it relates to Will and the theory. It's never been confirmed, but Will appears to have powers himself. Remember the dissatisfaction the audience had when Barb was written off? To many viewers, it felt like pointless gruesomeness, but it may have been proving a bigger point. Will lasted way longer in that realm than her. That fact means something. Perhaps his exposure to the slug parasite and this alternate portal affected his DNA. Maybe Will Byers has abilities too. His connection to the Mind Flayer gave him the ability of true sight. He was able to connect to the Upside Down and channel his vision to see the Mind Flayer's control. Basically, Will is like a warning signal for upcoming threats.
It knows. It knows where we are.
But it may be more than that. After all, the end of season 2 hinted at the possible survival of the main villain who controlled Will. So back to connecting this to Elle. Her powers are growing over time. They act like a muscle, which means the more Eleven uses them, the easier certain tasks become. She also discovers more about her powers this way. The same might be true for Will. It might be the case that we are only beginning to see this discovery. Will knows when a threat is coming. However, there could be more to his powers. Perhaps he can track these monsters through true sight. Even more likely, the Mind Flayer's power to control minds is passed down to Will. The possibilities are limitless. What is certain is that Will was and likely still is connected to the Mind Flayer. The creators clearly hinted at that during the end of the last season. The payoff needs to come at some point. The idea that the monster giving Will certain powers seems like a logical next step. Fans expect the dynamic to keep changing between the group. There is no way the team will voluntarily split up. Their connection is too strong for that. The writers need a villainous wedge to insert itself. Otherwise, the conflicts will follow the same formula as the last 2 seasons and tire out the viewer. Will is already shown to be special. He has lasted a long time in the Upside Down by himself. It changed him already, so why not change him some more? Barb didn't get trapped down there for no reason. The seeds are being planted to show us that Will Byers is meant for something greater. The Demogorgons were actively seeking people to place the parasite in, and Will was the perfect host. He survived. That gesture to the crowd needs to mean something, otherwise what is the point of choosing him to be lost? On top of that, Will is shown having a different life experience back in reality. His connection to the Mind Flayer and the Upside Down affects him like no other character. Not even Elle can relate to his lived experience. The story from that season includes moments of tension with his friends over that dynamic. It's a warning signal for things to come. There is no way Will Byers is over what happened to him to this point. Yes, he wants a normal childhood, but that doesn't mean things will be easy. These are kids, after all. Their emotional maturity shouldn't quite be there yet, and the conflicts this will cause might alienate our already alien character. To put it in D&D terms, it's almost as if a new, stronger member entered their party during Season 1 while Will wasn't able to play. Now that he is back in their game, the group seems not to be able to find a space for him.
It's quiet today.
He's always quiet.
All the while, his character is discovering new powers that connect him closer to the creatures than to his friends. It's all out there just in the first 2 seasons, but it's the new promotional material that pushes this narrative even further. In an interview, executive producer Sean Levy made sure to let fans know that Will would not be the source of distress this season.
What's happening?
He doesn't want bad things to happen to him every time there's a story to tell in Hawkins. It's good news, but Levy also stressed that a new evil force is approaching. That idea means the entire town is shifting on its axis. We see hints at this with the new monster, the new mall, and the new mayor featured in the trailer. Clearly, the narrative is going to change. However, just because Will is not at the center of the conflict doesn't mean it won't affect him. After all, his character appears hypersensitive to evil. He won't be the key to the villain's motives, but he could get swept up in it. If his role isn't a catalyst, then that means he needs to start making choices as an active player. He is part of the team again, and that will affect things. The scene that bolstered this theory was accompanied by a voiceover of Will stating that they were no longer kids. The connection the two make together is a dangerous theme. We are going to see Will get left behind and isolated by his friends. He lost his normal childhood the minute the Demogorgon attempted to attack him. It's forced him to grow in a different direction from his friends. Maybe he doesn't want to be a hero. He is tired of fighting creatures and sci-fi governments. He only wants to be understood.
Who's Zombie Boy?
Me.
The trailer shows a lot of potential new players entering the game. The mayor and the mall are 2 big additions. It certainly feels plausible that one of the 2 will be responsible for the new evil force Levy is talking about in his interview. Will is being cast aside by his friends. At least it feels like that is the case judging by the trailer. Perhaps the mayor or someone at the mall gives Will a place of refuge. They form a new friendship, but that person ends up being evil. This change in character leads to Will and his potential powers falling into the hands of whatever new evil awaits. Maybe they will use him to contact the Mind Flayer, or Will might be connected enough to the Upside Down to reopen a gateway. He might also be able to track down creatures to be captured and weaponized. The potential for his character is all there. The only undetermined factor is which side of the line he falls on, and all sides currently point to the dark side. We hope it's not true. Everyone loves Will Byers and his story. To see him flip to the dark side would be soul-crushing. That being said, the writing is on the wall. The Duffer Brothers and their team are clearly moving on to a new arc for the cast. Dramatic storylines are necessary to keep intrigue. To be honest, some things may be up in the air. Will might not be affected by the distress this go-around, but that doesn't mean he won't be the cause of it. All of this brings up so many questions for the future of Stranger Things. What role will Eleven play in all of this? And will her powered-up friends from Season 2 factor in at all? How would a dark turn from Will affect Joyce, and can she prevent it? Finally, will Mike, Lucas, and Dustin actually abandon their friend? There is so much more to say on this matter, but we will leave it up to you to say it. Sound off in the comments down below. Plus, follow Behind the Screen for all the latest theories and more. All you gotta do is hit the link down below to be automatically subscribed.